Welcome to the FX debate here in London at the British Museum. With me is Bernd Berg, who is a Global Emerging Markets FX strategist at Credit Suisse. Thank you for being with us today. Okay, so let's talk about emerging market currencies. Which ones are your favorite at the moment and why?
The emerging market currencies I favor are Mexican peso and Brazilian real. I think the Mexican peso is supported by the strong growth in Mexico. Domestic growth is strong, also due to the rate cut, the one-off rate cut of 50 basis points to 4% that the central bank initiated last Friday. I think this will boost domestic growth, and on top of this, US growth is strong, and also the new government in Mexico is implementing structural reforms, and I think this will be very positive going forward for the Mexican peso. It has been the top performing currency year to date together with the Brazilian real. I think Brazil is up 4%, Mexican peso is up 3.8% against the US dollar, and I think this trend will continue for some time, with Brazil in a tightening cycle right now. Tightening cycle which is positive, giving yield support for the Brazilian real, and also inflation rates on top of the band at 6.5% in Brazil, with incentives to let the currency appreciate further, and also a growth pickup you can see in Brazil over the course of this year.
Okay, so it's all about South America. What about Asia? Do you think that we are seeing a shift away from Asia in the forex market?
I think there is a shift away from Asian currencies. This year you could see a strong rally in Asian currencies last year. Third and fourth quarter last year saw a strong rally in South Korean won, especially. Now this year South Korean won has depreciated. Also the Singapore dollar is not doing as well. You can see the Chinese yuan still doing well. But in general, if you look at the index, the Asian currency index against US dollar Asian currencies have not performed well this year. I think some domestic issues, the conflict between South Korea and North Korea, and especially some interventions by central banks in Asia, in South Korea, for example, have limited gains, further gains in Asian currencies year to date.
Okay, and staying on with Asia, what about China? Do you think that we're going to see a greater use of the yuan in the future on the FX market and greater liberalization of the Chinese currency by the authorities?
I think it's a question, the liberalization of the Chinese currency is an ongoing theme. I think we will continue to see more liberal or access for foreigners to Chinese currency and financial markets. I think it's a theme of a couple of years. I think Chinese authorities have indicated they want to liberalize the market. Also the flexibility of the Chinese currency will be broader. I think we are in a continuous trend of Chinese yuan appreciation over the next couple of years. We continue to be positive for the Chinese currency, and I think liberalization will only be positive. It will increase the volatility of the Chinese currency, but the general perspective is that the opening up of the market is positive as foreigners come in and have more investment opportunities. So we continue to be positive for the Chinese currency.
And finally, can you just tell me which currencies, which emerging market currencies that were once popular are to be avoided now?
We recommended to stay away for some time from South African rand. I think was a good call. So South African rand, Hungarian forint and Czech koruna are the currencies we disliked in emerging markets for some time. We have always said that we don't like the mix in South Africa between weakening growth, mining strikes, especially, and the current account deficit widening. We think this mix is very negative. Also high inflation rate in South Africa, which prevents the central bank from cutting rates to support growth. I think this whole mix of stagnation or even stagflation with weaker growth and high inflation rates is negative for the currency, with the current account deficit widening in South Africa. It's also a loss of confidence amongst international investors with all the strikes you have seen end of last year and mining strikes which continue. I think this is all a negative mix for the South African currency. So we continue to be negative for now. South African rand has hit a 4.5-year low as we speak at 9.25 against the US dollar today. I would think perhaps at some point in time in the summer of 2013 there could be entry points in South African rand because it's then significantly overvalued. If you hit 9.40, 9.50 or even move to 10 against the US dollar, I think these are entry points, especially as growth also bottoms out and perhaps growth rates pick up. I think this could be an entry point. Otherwise, we continue to be negative on Czech koruna. We think there's a risk of central bank intervention. And Hungary, it's a very negative mix of weakening growth, of concerns of EU lawmakers about democratic principles. We saw amendments to the constitutional law in Hungary a couple of days ago, which is negative for the currency, and also some uncertainty about the independence of the central bank, which is hurting the sentiment against Hungarian forint at the moment.
Okay, Mr. Berg, thank you very much.